Hello all and welcome back to my channel. My name is Pandey and thank you very much for watching my other videos. I am hoping that my videos are adding some values in your day-to-day Intune operation work. Please consider subscribing my channel. By subscribing, you will get access to new videos as soon as they are uploaded, and it's a great way to stay up to date with my content and support me at the same time. Now let's talk about the module schema. So in the previous videos, we discussed the fundamentals of patching in Intune, covering topics such as how to create and deploy the update rings, how to create and deploy the feature updates and expedite updates or quality update deployments. We also explored the end-to-end backend flow and witnessed a real-time demo of these processes. And if you haven't watched these videos yet, I encourage you to do so, and I will also provide the link in the description section. In this driver and firmware update module, I will be talking about the benefits of managing driver updates using Microsoft Intune. We will cover what you need to have in place before getting implementation. Then we will talk about the important things to be considered during implementation and the different types of drivers and firmware updates. And I will show you how to approve and install the driver updates through Intune and explain the life cycle of driver updates. Along with that, we will also explore the process that happens in background for Windows driver and firmware updates. Additionally, we will explore the reports available in Windows driver updates. Then I will give you a practical demo to see it all in actions. Let's simplify driver management using Microsoft Intune together. So before we begin, if you are new to my channel or yet not subscribed my channel, please consider subscribing my channel and turn on the notification so that you won't miss any of my videos. Now let's see what is the advantage of managing driver updates using Microsoft Intune. So the very first advantage is the centralized management. Intune provides a centralized platform to manage driver across all Android devices. This streamlines driver updates and ensure consistency in the driver versions used throughout the organization. Now the second advantage is automated updates. Intune can automatically scan for and deploy driver updates to device, reducing the burden on IT administrator and ensuring that devices stay up to date with the latest drivers. Third advantage is related to driver version control. So Intune allows administrator to specify which driver versions are approved for deployment, ensuring that only the tested and validated drivers are used on organization devices. Next advantage is improved device performance. Keeping devices up to date can lead to improved device performance, stability and compatibility with the latest software and hardware enhancements. Next advantage is related to the enhanced security. Regularly updating driver updates help addresses security vulnerabilities, reducing the risk of potential cyber attacks or exploits targeting outdated drivers. Next advantage is related to customized deployment. So with Intune, administrator can create manual driver update policy, allowing for more customized driver management as per the organization need. The next advantage is related to the monitoring and reporting. Intune provides monitoring and reporting capabilities, allowing administrators to track driver updates, status and identify potential issues during the driver installation. And the last one is the cloud-based solution. As a cloud-based service, Intune enables remote management of drivers, making it ideal for organization with distributed workforce or remote devices. Now let's talk about the prerequisites to implement the driver management using Intune. So the very first prerequisite is related to the subscription. So with respect to Intune subscription, our tenant should have a Microsoft Intune Plan 1 subscription, and with respect to Azure Directory subscription, we should have either Azure Directory free or greater subscription. With respect to Windows subscription and license, we should have either Windows 10 or 11 Enterprise E3 or E5 license, which is included in Microsoft 365 F3, E3 or E5 licenses, or we should have Windows 10 or 11 Education A3 or A5 license, which is included in Microsoft 365 A3 or A5 licenses, or we should have a virtual desktop access E3 or E5 license, or Windows 365 business premium license. With respect to Windows Edition, driver updates are supported for Pro, Enterprise, Education, and Pro for Workstation edition of Windows 10 and Windows 11. With respect to device related prerequisites, device must be running on Windows 10 or Windows 11 with supported operating system version, and if we have any existing updating policy, then the driver update should be enabled in that policies. Third one is device must be enrolled in Intune and be hybrid Azure design or Azure design. Fourth one is the telemetry must be turned on with a minimum setting of required. Then the Microsoft sign-in assistant service must be enabled and in running mode. And the last one is the device must have access to the network endpoints required by Intune managed devices. In addition to these prerequisites, we have another special prerequisite which is required for data collection for reporting. So we have to enable the Windows diagnosed data in Intune, and this is required to support the reporting for Windows driver updates. And to do this, we have to go to the tenant administration. Under tenant administration, we have to go to the connectors and token, and then we have a Windows data, and we have to ensure that the Windows data setting should be turned on. Now let's talk about some of the key points related to driver updates. So the very first point is Windows Update for Business does not support the long-term servicing channel release, and for LTSC we must plan to use alternative patching methods like WSUS or configuration, also known as SCCM. Intune policy for driver update is not currently supported with GCC high environment. Windows Update for Business does not currently support the driver rollback. So we have to ensure that the proper rollback strategy must be in place before deploying the driver updates in the production environment. Driver updates are not supported during the autopilot. Driver updates are not currently supported with assignment filters. So Intune to Windows Update for Business DS sync runs every day, and we can use the sync option to run a synchronization on demand. Device sync with Windows Update for Business DS service each day when the device runs a Windows Update scan. Updates that are published to the Windows Update have a requirement to use a Windows mechanism that enables securely updating the firmware or driver without requiring the BIOS and UEFI to be unblocked. Extension drivers, which are sub drivers that a main drivers can refer to, be installed when the main driver is installed or updated. Extension drivers show up in the installed drivers or update history on the device but are not directly manageable. Because the extension drivers do not function without base driver, it is safe to allow them to install. Device should get all required driver updates which are available in the Windows Update by the vendor. The quality update deadline and grace period setting applies to drivers. The deadline starts from the time the driver is first offered to the device but is not a deferral period. Intune will take up to 24 hours to show required or optional updates against each healthy devices. Now let's talk about the types of drivers and firmware updates. So basically there are two types of driver and firmware updates. One is the recommended driver updates and another one is the optional driver updates. So the recommended driver updates are typically the latest driver updates published by the driver publisher that the publisher has marked as a required. When we see the recommended driver updates, it means that the manufacturer has identified improvements or fixes for a specific hardware devices and they suggested user update to the latest version of the driver to take the advantage of these benefits. These updates are typically available through the manufacturer official websites or can be obtained through Windows updates. With respect to optional driver updates, drivers that are not identified as the current recommended drivers are also known as other drivers, which can be considered to be optional driver updates. Unlike recommended driver updates, which often address critical issues and performance improvement, optional update usually provides additional features, optimizations, and compatibility enhancement. Now let's talk about the ways to approve and install the driver update through Intune. So basically there are two strategies or two ways through which we can approve and install the driver updates through Intune. The very first one is to enable the automatic approval for recommended driver updates, or second one is to configure the manual approval driver update policies. So with respect to automatic approval of recommended driver updates, administrator has to create a automatic approval driver update policies, and whenever there is a new recommended driver update available for the specific model or device, then those drivers are automatically installed on those devices. So automatic approved driver update policy automatically approves and install recommended driver updates on the specified devices. With respect to installing recommended driver updates, these updates are marked as necessary by the hardware manufacturer and device automatically install them after scanning. With respect to optional driver updates, with these policies, we can still deploy the optional driver on the specific devices. With respect to newer driver updates, whenever a newer recommended driver update is released, it is replaced the previous recommended driver in the policy. And with respect to review approval updates, we have the option to manually approve, pause or decline updates for the device covered by this policy. So with respect to configuring manual approval update policies, this policy mandates that the administrator must approve driver updates before they can be deployed. With respect to newer driver updates, whenever new version of given driver updates are released, they are automatically added to the policy but remain inactive until approved. With respect to pending review, if a new recommended driver updates become available for a device under this policy, the policy status shows device pending for review, prompting administrator to review and approve the deployment. With respect to manage approved driver, administrator has the ability to edit the driver update policy to specify which drivers are approved for the deployment. And last, with respect to pausing the deployments, the deployment of an individual driver update can be paused, preventing their installation on the new device. Administrator can later reapprove the pause updates to allow Windows Update to remain installing them on the applicable devices. Let's talk about the driver update lifecycle. So the driver update lifecycle starts when a new driver update released and published in Windows Update for Business deployment service. Then Intune is checking whether a driver is a recommended driver or not. If it is not a recommended driver, then the driver update become a part of other driver group in the policies, and in this case admin has to manually approve the driver update for the deployment perspective, and once the driver is updated by the admin, the driver update will be installed on the next device Windows Update lines check-in time. If the driver is a recommended driver, then the driver update become the part of recommended driver group in the policies, and if this recommended driver update is replacing any older version of the driver, then if it is yes, then older driver update move to the other drivers, and once all the device install the new driver update, the older driver update gets removed from the inventory. If it is the recommended driver update, then the administrator has to approve the driver update, and once this is approved, this driver update will be installed on the device when the machine is scanning for new applicable updates as well as for the drivers. Now let's talk about the Windows drivers and firmware updates backend flow. So I have divided the entire backend process flow in two phases. The very first phase is before configuring the prerequisite, and second phase is after configuring the prerequisite. So along with that, there are mainly three key players involved in this entire Windows driver and firmware update backend flow. The very first one is the Intune, second one is the Windows Update for Business deployment service, and third one is the Windows Update client or the device where we want to install the driver updates. So During the prerequisite phase, admin is creating a telemetry policy and deploying from the Intune console, also enabling the Windows diagnostic data as well as the other configuring the other prerequisites. Once the telemetry policy deployed to the device, telemetry and other setting applied and configured in the Windows machine, then the device sending the telemetry data and other required information along with Azure Directory device ID to Windows Update for Business Deployment Service, and Windows Update for Deployment Service save the telemetry and other information for the future reference and for the future use. Now, after the machine is configured properly and all the prerequisites are in place, admin is creating a driver update policy and admin is going to deploy the driver update policy. Once the driver update policy is deployed, then this driver update policy is shared with the Windows Update for Business Deployment Service, and this service is saving the policy configuration information and use it while offering the updates. Now, after this, the Windows Update client or the device scan against the Windows Update service and perform a scan for firmware or driver updates. Now, the device scan result, which contains the applicable drivers, is sent to the Intune service, and Intune shows the applicable, which is recommended and optional drivers against each driver update policy, and then Intune admin approves the selected driver updates and approved driver list is sent to the Windows Update Deployment Service. Now at this point of time, Windows Update for Business Deployment Service save the approved driver information and use it while offering the updates. Now in the next step, Windows Update client or device again scan against the Windows Update service and perform a scan for firmware and driver updates. Now this time the Windows Update for Business Deployment Service provides the list of approved update to the device. Then device will install the drivers and reboot the system, and the machine is rebooting as per the policy configured in the updating settings. Once the device is up, device will send the status to the Windows Update Deployment Service via telemetry, and the Windows Update Deployment Service will send this information to the Intune for reporting purpose. Now let's talk about the reports for Windows driver updates. So basically there are three types of reports available in Intune related to Windows driver updates. On top of three types of report, we can monitor Windows Update rollout by using Windows Update for Business reports. So Windows Update for Business reports is offered through the Azure portal and is included as part of Windows 10 and Windows 11. And if you want to know more about the Windows Update for Business report, you can check out my playlist where I created the video on Windows Update for Business report with the step-by-step instructions. Now let's see within the Intune what all reports we have. The very first report is Windows driver update summary report. So this report allows admin to view the status of drivers update for each policies. So these driver update summary reports provide 6 types of status, which includes success, in progress, paused, error, cancelled, and need review. Second one is the Windows driver update report. So this driver update reports allows admin to select a single driver update and view detail about the policy in which it's applicable for a device. This report provides information about the driver from all your driver update policies, offering a different perspective than other reports, which only provide detail specific to a specific policies. And the third report is the Windows driver update failure report. So this Windows update driver failure report provides the list of driver which are failed to install on the device. To find the report in admin center, we must go to the device, and under device we have to go to the monitor, and within monitor we have a report called Windows driver update failure report. Selecting the policy, we can then view more information about the error, including device name, driver class, alert message, deployment error code, UPN, and Intune device ID. Now let's see how we can configure the driver and firmware update policies. So right now I am on my Intune admin center portal, and to configure this we have to go to the devices, and within devices we have to go to the Windows. Here we can see the driver updates for Windows 10 and Windows 11 later. But before creating this, we have to ensure that the all prerequisites are in place, and most importantly in the tenant administration, under connectors and tokens, under Windows devices, this Windows data should be turned on. In my case, I have already enabled this. And the second important thing is that within the Windows update ring policies, under update ring for Windows 10 and later, all the policies which you have created for your production deployment, make sure that under the policy within the properties, this Windows driver update option should be allowed. If it is not allowed, then also Intune is able to detect the recommended and optional driver updates for the devices, but device is not able to install those updates. Once we are ensured that all the prerequisites are in place, then we have to go to the devices, and then devices we have to go to the Windows platform, and then we have to click on driver updates for Windows 10 and later, and then we have to create a policy. Here I'll give a name called manually driver update, and then click on next. Here we have a two option. First one is the manually approve and deploy driver updates. Second one is the automatically approve all recommended driver updates. If I'm clicking on second one, then I have to provide the number of days. For now I am going to click on manually approve and deploy the driver updates, and then click on next. Now here we have to add a group where you want to deploy that policy. So I already created a group called driver testing. I'm going to add this, and then in that group I have 3 devices with 0 user, and then click on next, and then click create. Now the policy is created for manually driver updates, and it will take around 24 hours to populate the information in the Intune portal. So I'll pause the video, I'll come back once the information is populated in the Intune portal to show you the next process. Now after 24 hours, we can see that the manual driver update policy is showing one update for review. Now we have to click on this. Now we can see that we have a driver name called system hardware update. We can also see the release date. We can also see the version of the driver, and the manufacturer is Microsoft. We can also see the driver class. We can see that the status is showing as needs review, and this driver is applicable on one device. And to approve or decline it, we have to click on the driver name, and in action we have to select the appropriate option. In my case, I am going to select approve. Then we have to provide the dates to make available in Windows update. For now I am going to select as soon as possible and click on save. And now we can see that this driver status is showing as approved. Along with the recommended drivers, we also have some other drivers, and we can see that I have multiple drivers name showing as need review, and mostly for all the drivers the manufacturer is Lenovo. And to approve or decline it, we have to again click on it and then take action. For now I'm going to approve it and just make it available in Windows update. I'm going to available as soon as possible. Now we can see that the driver is approved, and for this driver I am going to decline it. Now we can see that the driver is showing as a declined. Same thing you can do for other drivers also. Now here we can also see the driver class, like most of the drivers are belongs to the firmware class. Now this is how we have to approve or decline the recommended drivers in Microsoft Intune. Now I am on my client machine, and we can see that the machine is showing up to date. And if we go to the view update history, Within view update history, we can see all quality updates and definition updates, and in other updates we have one updates, and we can see that the system hardware update which we deployed via Intune is installed successfully on this device. Same thing applies to the other drivers or optional drivers. We can see that we deployed the Intel Net driver through Intune, and in the driver update report the initial status is showing as offer ready. After some time the driver was automatically installed on the device, and my observation is that these reports are taking very long time to update their status in Intune portal. So if you are deploying any drivers and the last event time is not updated, you can manually check the status at the machine level, or creating a proactive remediation scripts to detect the installation of a particular driver on the device. I hope this is an informative video for you. Thank you very much for watching this video.